Okay. I'm just wondering about the spelling.
Yeah. So I mean, what's crazy is the amount of times that George Lucas has changed A New Hope over the years. And have you heard of the whole McClunky thing?
Oh yeah. The weird thing is that the after I watched Mandalorian,
Yeah.
it suggested Empire Strikes Back, and I was like, no, I want A New Hope. So I watched A New Hope all the way through, and did not notice the McClunky thing because
God.
I don't know what Greedo speaks. I don't have that memorized.
Yeah. I mean, it's just been taking over the internet lately, but apparently people have already like broken it down, and I found a bunch of stuff about it, so it explains it a little bit more. So the intention behind it is that it roughly translates from Huttese, which is what Jabba the Hutt speaks. It roughly translates to "This will be the end of you," and they're his final words to Han Solo. So it's supposed to be like he's gonna have the last word. He's gonna shoot Han. He's gonna be this victorious bounty hunter. But it apparently was also spoken by. Do you remember in the Phantom Menace, the pod racer Sebulba?
I remember everything about the Phantom Menace.
And nothing at the same time.
Yippee!
So Sebulba apparently says it as well. So there's precedent for McClunky, but I've gone back and I listened to a clip from it or listened to the audio today, and it doesn't fit at all. Like you can tell that somebody overlaid this in. And what's crazy to me is that like they've done an interview with the guy who originally voiced the character, and he has no memory of ever recording McClunky. He's never heard it before. He's never read it in a script. So somebody else went back in and dubbed in McClunky for this guy's audio.
Yeah, I see George Lucas as being, in his basement, whatever, where he stays away from his wife and his kids, and he's just in there like, huh, McClunky. When I get into a recording studio and McClunky. Yeah, that sounds fine for Greedo. Yeah, with a little bit more ambition. McClunky. Yeah, that'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems like a great idea. Like the one thing that you should keep doing is keep remastering and keep editing the one movie that like basically jump-started your career, that everyone knows word for word, and then just act like nothing happened.
I mean, I'll take a remaster from George Lucas, but I'm just really waiting for them to go back to the original. Yeah. When they re-release that, I think they'll make a lot of money.
It's the next remastering, but it's just the original before all the other remasterings have already happened.
What do you call it? What would it be if it went back to original form? How do you label that?
Like vintage, I guess, at this point? Original?
Yeah, but it would have to be called remastered.
Yeah.
Isn't a remaster a re-release? Re-release.
Okay, so a re-release of the original A New Hope.
There's so much Star Wars.
That really is.
My head hurts. This is becoming the Star Wars podcast. But we have a different setup for everyone today. Welcome everyone to the Sum It Up podcast. This is where we're talking about movies, shows, games, and whatever the heck we want. And this week we are deviating a little bit from Star Wars, and we're actually focusing on other things in Hollywood. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and YouTube. I am joined by my good friend John, and I'm Christopher, and we are your co-hosts for the day. John, how you doing?
Chris, I'm doing pretty well. We had some great barbecue for lunch.
Ooh,
feeling so full, feeling pretty good.
Yes. And for those of you who, if anybody ever listens to this and they're in the Maryland area, BBQ, is that what they call it?
So I don't think it's a thing up in Maryland, but Chris was introduced at this barbecue restaurant to Old Bay. And oh my God,
Old Bay and barbecue is the match made in heaven. It is delicious, amazing, sweet, tangy, and a little bit spicy. But not spicy heat.
Yeah,
it's got spice in it.
Just a little bit spicy.
Just very little. It's got like sugar or honey or something in it that just makes it sweet. And with that Old Bay spice, it's not spicy. It's just normal spice. Delicious.
So good.
I can't get over it. It's so much better than everything around here. So, and we're in Tennessee. Memphis, you ain't got nothing on Old Bay.
Nope.
Coming at it. Maryland's better.
So the first thing that I wanted to kind of talk about today was Hollywood, there's this, obviously this has been going on for a while, where movies have CGI'd over a person's face to either make them look younger, make them into a different person.
Turn them into Jar Jar Binks.
Exactly.
Star Wars podcast once again.
Oh, keep mentioning it. So there's this new technique that is being introduced into a movie where it's a movie called Fighting Jack. It's based on a Garth Crocker novel. I've never heard of it before.
I don't read.
I don't read at all either. Yeah, I just talk.
I read history textbooks, so this is nowhere near on my radar.
Exactly. So if anybody's familiar with the actor James Dean, he died 65 years ago. He was 24, super young actor, but really well known at the time. So this movie that's coming out, Finding Jack.
Wait, for anyone who's curious, sorry to cut you off, but we're talking about James Dean, the actor from 1950s, not the James Dean some people may know now. And if you do know who that is, shame on you.
Anyways,
you have no idea what
I have no idea.
To. Oh boy,
that's fine. So what this movie is planning on doing is taking James Dean, his face, and CGIing it onto someone else, so that James Dean can essentially portray a character in the movie Finding Jack. Not even the main character, but just a side character.
It's so bad.
I don't understand this. Obviously, a lot of people in Hollywood are already pretty outspoken about this. Robin Williams' daughter, for instance, has said that basically what they're doing is they're puppeteering the dead, and that it sets an awful precedent for the future of performance. We should let the great performers of the past rest.
But I'm okay with this. I understand where Miss Williams is coming from on this with her dad. And for everyone else who has a parent or a loved one who might be used later for CGI, I think that is the new thing in contracts, is to negotiate that. Am I going to be used in a movie like 20 years from now? But I think it's just new. It shouldn't be controversial. We just need to get it in contracts now. I would see no problem with someone doing it for my body as long as I give it the okay. But I'm curious to see if like other people also have this perspective, because I've seen a lot of the outrage. I haven't seen a lot of people be like, well, it's the people's choice, and James Dean Estate said it was okay.
Yeah. And even the director has come out and said that he doesn't really fully understand the backlash, that he never intended it for it to be like a marketing gimmick or anything. They just want, their intention, at least publicly, is just to introduce a new generation to this great actor.
Okay, that's the part that I think that is complete bull.
Oh, absolutely.
I absolutely think so. I think the concept is fine. I think the way these people are going about it is completely wrong. I think they're so full of it that, like, oh, I don't understand this backlash. Like, we just couldn't find, what is it? They couldn't find an actor to play this person?
Yeah, they spent months and months looking for people to find this one actor, or find this one character, which again, it's not the main character of the movie. So I don't understand why it's such a struggle if they're auditioning people all over the world, why it's such a struggle to find somebody who can portray the likeness of a character from a book, that you have to revert back to someone who's been dead for over 65 years.
This is a PR stunt. I can find you a film student. No, I can do one better. Our friend Logan could play James Dean in this movie.
Shout out Logan Nipper.
Yeah. Shout out to Logan. He's got the complexity in it. I think he could do it. Yeah, your search is over.
Exactly.
Anton Ernst.
So, and the kind of some of the examples that he gave to counteract some of the backlash was when he sees something like Star Wars, who through some of the movies have altered faces, like Peter Cushing, who played Grand Moff Tarkin. He died before Rogue One came out, and in order to portray the character in that movie like they had wanted to, they had a stand-in and then use CGI to recreate Peter Cushing's face over top of it. And it, to be honest, doesn't look super great. Like, it's way better than what they could have done years ago, but like it sticks out to me pretty well.
I think it's fine.
Well, I mean, like, if you didn't know that he was dead, I don't think that you would expect it as much. But like, because it was such a big news story for a while and people knew that he wasn't actually in this movie, for him to suddenly show up, it caught people by surprise.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. If you know all the details of like, oh, they totally brought him back from the dead, blah blah blah. Yeah, it's gonna be jarring, but
Yeah.
to be honest, like I've seen a lot of great video games that have good screen cap or motion cap
Yeah.
and transfiguring people's faces onto that type of engine. I'm totally fine with this. Like I could tell it's kind of that mix between video game graphics and movie cinematography. And I think that blend is okay, but I could tell that for everyone who just watches cinema,
Yeah.
that this looks awful, which I totally respect and get it. But for me, it doesn't take me out of it at all.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad that they included his character in the story because I think he did play a good role in it. And they also brought up how, obviously, with Carrie Fisher's death, she couldn't.
Hope.
Yeah, at the end of Rogue One, where they're tying it into A New Hope, obviously they portrayed her using her daughter as a stand-in, which, again, like you can tell that it's CG, but I don't like. I think like with what you said, I don't think it sticks out so much that it like takes away from the experience unless you're seeking it out.
Yeah. And Carrie was alive when this came out, right?
When Rogue One came out,
Yes.
I believe so.
Yes, she was alive when this came out.
Yeah. So as far as like taking somebody who has been dead for this long, like James Dean, obviously they couldn't have the foresight to know that technology would advance that far to where this would have to be something they would negotiate in contracts or that they would have to weigh in on down the road. So his estate has said that they support Finding Jack, the movie, which I mean, I believe is probably good enough for the time being. And I don't think that fact alone should warrant all the backlash from other actors. Excuse me. But where do you think the line is for the most part? Like, do you think that this is maybe setting up a new trend? Do you think that we're going in a direction that could like maybe disturb some people, or maybe in a case where they don't have an estate or family left, where it could potentially tarnish their memory if they're being portrayed in a negative way in a movie?
So, like I said, I think we're treading into new territory, which means all the legal stuff has to be redone. So if you're going to have someone who's being portrayed, who's dead, needs to be in a contract somewhere, needs to be in a will, I think that's the only way they can portray it. We are exploring new territory, and the laws or the contracts, the legally binding stuff needs to be updated to fit that demand. I'm okay with it. I have no problem. What I do have a problem with is these guys saying, like, we didn't think it'd be that big a deal. You've got to be kidding me. I still stand by it. I think it's complete BS. But going back to that, with this specific situation, I don't get why James Dean is being revered as an amazing American icon. He starred in 3 movies, right? This is going to be his 4th movie.
Yeah.
He died young at the age of 24 in a fatal car crash, right?
Yeah.
So, this happened 60 years ago. I just don't. I understand with the technology, people are frightened. I totally get it. I won't discount it, but a lot of time has passed. I don't understand the revelry of James Dean. I really don't. At first, when they said James Dean, I was thinking Jimmy Dean, like Breakfast Biscuits.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, James Dean, that actor that I thought, because I've heard so much about him, that he had done like so many movies. I thought he did like at least like 10 or 15, and he died in his 30s. Come to find out, he did 3 movies, died at the age of 24 after doing some more research with the recent story. I don't get it. Like,
No.
I don't get the revelry for him.
Well, and what's crazy to me, like, say this is a marketing stunt, and they made the choice to put the likeness of James Dean in a movie just to draw more people in because they wanted a big name for it, which I believe this is just like an indie movie. It's not even a big budget type of production. The money that they're going to spend on just putting in a CGI, basically an entire person, into a scene or however many scenes he's going to be in, the budget for that is going to drive the cost up for the movie tremendously.
That too, yeah.
So
if you want it to be good.
Exactly. And if enough people don't see this movie, they're going to lose a large amount of money on this just for a marketing stunt, which makes no sense to me.
And the backlash, like you said, if it's bad, what happens? Like, this is a risk. They are literally rolling the dice on this movie by saying, like, hey, we're going to put James Dean in it. If the movie sucks, if the character sucks, they're going to get a ton of backlash. And they should be prepared for that. I think, you know, if they're going to do this new stuff, they got to be prepared for what's going to be thrown back at them. And if they complain that, oh, the headlines ruined the movie, blah, blah, blah. No. At the end of the day, they control the narrative of this. And if they do a poor job of it, they do a poor job of it. It's the consequences. I have no issue, and I'm actually really intrigued to see if this blows up in their face or not.
Yeah.
I love a good storm.
What I really don't want to happen is for this to look like the deep fake of Ron Swanson on all of the characters from Full House.
Oh yeah.
I don't want it to look where it's like jarring and like you can tell that something is definitely wrong with these people.
It's still funny.
Oh
like,
yeah.
If we treated memes like the way we treated cinema, nothing would be good. And so that's where there's a medium for that, to laugh and to enjoy something and not believe, oh my gosh, like, I'm not going to critique a meme because Ron Swanson is on a little girl's body and be like, look at how terribly this is done. No, it's a joke. You know, It's that believability. It's supposed to make her laugh. So if the CGI is bad, I still can't fault it because this technology's still new and they are an indie movies. It's an indie movie. My issue is that if the story's bad, if it comes off as all bad, they're going to have to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
Because just like for me, as a more casual moviegoer, Peter Cushing in Rogue One was totally okay with it. And people were like, oh, so bad? I'm like, nah, well, wasn't that bad. I'm able to get over it. If the normal moviegoer who's into James Dean, which they're probably in their 70s or 80s right now, who likes that actor, goes to see the movie, I doubt they're going to be like, this is jarring, I can't watch it. They're probably going to be into it. Yeah. I'm just saying.
And it's really going to depend on the quality of the final outcome. And I guess we'll kind of wait and see, one, if this even really gets made, because it's still in production at this point. And two, if it gets good reviews and if it's any good.
Yeah. I understand that.
So something else that makes me think about heavily CGIing someone's face to make them look like something else.
Ooh.
Snyder Cut. The Justice League Snyder Cut. I
can't believe this is still being talked about.
That's crazy. It's the 2-year anniversary of this movie, and people are still talking about it. What's crazy to me though is that Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot have both in the past week or two come out as supporting the Snyder Cut, which Ben Affleck famously does not want to have anything else to do with this franchise whatsoever. You could tell he got burned out from how well or how poorly this movie was received.
Yeah.
And Gal Gadot really hasn't been super vocal about a lot of this movie controversy.
Because she's Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
She's got more important things. Like, what is she going to wear this morning? She's a hot tamale.
Oh my gosh.
Gal Gadot is the shining spot of the DC universe right now. If she's got more important fish to fry with her own Wonder Woman, I think that Patty Jenkins, what she did with Wonder Woman made me care about the character.
Yeah.
And by far, it is the best DC cinematic movie to come out. And for her to come out and say this, I think that gives more validity to her, or more validity to the movie, not Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot is amazing in everything she does.
Yeah.
But, even with the, do you know she was in the Fast and Furious franchise?
Yeah.
She was like, was it Han's partner?
Yeah, was it Too Fast, Too Furious that she was in?
I know she was in Fast 5.
Okay. Oh, maybe that's the one. Yeah, but I knew she was in at least one movie from the franchise. I mean, she's been in everything. Like, she's a great actress. So, yeah, you're right. For her to come out and say that as kind of the new face of the DCEU is definitely giving a lot more validity to this Snyder Cut.
But for me, it's just, I don't understand why... me looking at the story, because I don't. Why are we focused on something that happened 2 years ago? That if it hasn't happened by now, like, the cut's not going to come out. It's the same thing we've been saying with George Lucas, like, release the original trilogy, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
There are third-party websites or third-party distributors that do it illegally to get that stuff out to, the fans. And I think Gal Gadot coming out and saying this, while probably well-mannered, it's not going to change anything.
No, and so people were like assuming that with all of these people coming out and being so outspoken about the Snyder Cut, that maybe Warner Brothers had some kind of secret plan to re-release or to release the Snyder Cut version of this in theaters, and so that maybe they were trying to do this as like a big PR stunt. But since everybody has come out, Warner Brothers has actually come out and said, no, we have no plans to do this. Nothing is in the works. This is not happening. So if all of this is for nothing, then what's the point? Like, why come out and say all these things and keep this momentum going for this for so long for nothing to be released?
Maybe there is a contractual obligation that with so many minutes or with certain scenes that are put in that they have to pay out more to certain people. I don't know. I'm just trying to speculate here.
Yeah.
But I would, because I don't know too much about the movie industry and how it works. But if a movie studio is very against re-releasing a product or, making it longer, there's got to be reasons for it, and it's probably a nightmare for them logistically to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't think we're gonna get it. If they've already come out and said no,
yeah,
and even though other people were like, well, this version is better, answer still no. They didn't release it on the
Bonus
Blu-ray
features?
versions, did they? Because
No.
they did that for Batman
versus-
versus Superman. They
Yeah.
released some extra content onto the DVDs, and they didn't really do that as much. They didn't do the Snyder Cut.
So that's the thing. So when Snyder left the project, they were either in the middle or just finished principal photography. So they had all the big action set pieces done, all the major points. What the next director was brought in to do was basically just to smooth out the story, to really get it in the direction that the studio wanted it in. So he reshot some scenes. He added some dialogue, a couple different things just to kind of shift it in a different direction. But the original scenes that were cut out from what Zack Snyder did were never edited. The CGI wasn't polished. There wasn't any ADR, so they didn't go back in and re-record the voices over top the background noise to cut that down and make it more clear. So if there is a Snyder Cut, which Jason Momoa's claimed to seen, Ray Fisher's claimed to seen, if there is a Snyder Cut, one, it's going to be probably 3 or 4 hours long because it's not cut down and edited at all.
Yeah.
Two, the CGI is either barely there or non-existent, so it could just be a matter of like Jesse Eisenberg talking to a bunch of tennis balls just as like a placeholder, which I think I'd kind of like to see.
Well, yeah.
And like I said, like all the ADR isn't done, so the dialogue that's there in like these big open action set pieces.
There's probably no music also in the background with it.
Yeah. So audio wise, it's probably all just distorted and pretty junky. Visually, it's not put together at all. It's probably not edited in a coherent way. Mm-hmm. So for fans to think that there is this put together final cut version of the movie that Zack Snyder had a part of, it's just not, it doesn't happen.
Also, how many people are going to actually buy this?
Exactly.
And if it goes up on a streaming service, how well is it going to do? Probably not very well.
It's probably not going to be a big draw.
Who right now is going to FXX and watching like DC movies all the time? There's no one who has it on a continuous loop. Whoever you are out there, reveal yourself.
You're the true MVP.
The true MVP trying to give Warner Brothers its money back.
So,
yeah.
So that's the other thing too. So Warner Brothers right now, they own HBO.
Which Warner Brothers is also owned by AT&T.
Yes. So in May, HBO is coming out with HBO Max, which is supposedly, it's HBO Now and the HBO content that's just shifting over.
They also have other networks with it, like isn't Cartoon Network part of the HBO Max?
I know they've got a lot of different content
for their kid content that they have with it.
Yeah, but they own the rights, or they have obviously the DC cinematic universe that they're going to be bringing over for this.
Woo.
Which there's not all of them on the HBO Now or even the DC Universe platforms, but that's the home that these are going to be for. And they're putting out a live action Green Lantern series. It's going to be the home of potentially direct to streaming DC movies. Like there's talk of Booster Gold and maybe Nightwing. All these like lesser known characters.
Still following in the footsteps of Disney. They're still not doing something new.
No, exactly. So the only thing that makes sense to me, if they are going to release any version of the Snyder Cut, is potentially putting it on HBO Max and letting people just see it for what it's worth, where they don't have to pay for distribution, they don't have to edit it. It could just be like as a film, like a lover of film, so people can just go watch this cut of it, and it can be over with.
I want it to be analyzed in like a film class. I want to be analyzed and people are looking at it like, all right, this is what you do right, this is what you do wrong. This is what production is. Look, here's a scene that was not in the movie that's still in pre-production. I want you to look at this, everyone. And you're like, this is what it'll look like. This is what the things I would prefer it to be more in a studious setting, because I don't think it's ever going to be released. Even if they have it on the streaming service, I just don't think it's all the way polished. Like you said, there's probably still tennis balls that Jesse Eisenberg is talking to or whatever. Steppenwolf might be doing something insane. I don't know. I don't think it's completed at all.
I mean, is there any version of this movie that you would want to see in any hypothetical situation? Is there any version of the Justice League that would interest you?
Absolutely not. And it'll tell you why. It's an unfinished product going out there. And right now in the games industry, that's the issue, is that publishers are putting out unfinished product because they have a release schedule, a window, and they got to make up for financials in a certain quarter. Hey, you released a game, you got a bunch of money back after an investment. Makes sense. But the thing is that fans are getting outraged that they're paying $60 for a game. It's not finished. It's so stupid. It's the same thing, and I think you should translate to movies that if your Snyder Cut is not complete, then why release it?
Yeah.
It just seems like a kind of a dim-witted move, but I understand giving it to film classes and going through there. I think that's a fine distribution of it. But as far as a product for the masses to consume, it doesn't make much sense. And investors would probably hate it too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. If you're going to put the time in to edit it and to build the quality up like it should, you're going to be pouring a lot of money into this movie that's probably not going to see hardly any return at all.
Yeah.
And for me, at least, that's really the only way that I would choose to see this movie is, one, if they completely edited it and made it a fully functioning movie with good quality, and two, if they did put it out on HBO Max, I would probably just use the free trial and watch it and then just end it before the trial ran up. I definitely wouldn't pay any money to see this movie. It doesn't really interest me that much. I don't understand the hype about the Snyder Cut, and I think it just needs to kind of quietly die.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, and while we're on the subject, let's just add another story in there. The Sonic movie.
Yeah.
Have you seen the new trailer?
I have. We talked about it a little bit in the last episode.
Yeah, and I think that going back to this, you had a studio where people were like, oh my gosh, I'm so horrified by the original that they redid it. And people are still talking about it today. That, now the fans are feeling obligated that they need to go see it because they got what they wanted. I look at what WB is doing, Warner Brothers, and I think that Sonic has set a precedent now that studios they might have to fix the Snyder Cut and make it, if they did want to do it, they have to do it complete justice if they're going to release it. And, put in that care. Otherwise, if they do release it haphazardly, which I don't think they will do, but if they did, hypothetically, I think the backlash with fans would be terrible. And even though Warner Brothers in producing DC content is going in a better direction with Joker, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, I do think that they would do some damage here. And I think that's why they're being so cautious, is they don't want to cause more damage by seeing the Snyder Cut.
That's the thing. I think Zack Snyder and the rest of the cast from the movie at this point is now kind of backing the studio into a corner where they're hyping up this project that doesn't fully exist and promising all this high quality action and set pieces that they see and they really enjoyed and they want the public to see. The studio knows there's nothing there. The public is asking for this thing, and either they release it, like you said, and the quality is horrible, and the fans have a bunch of backlash, they hate it, or they fix it up, they release it in some way, and they lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
But either way, it seems like Warner Brothers is going to lose if they give this any sort of attention at all.
Yeah, exactly. And a hot take. All right, this is the hot take right here. Even if they completely polish it up, the Zack Snyder, they spend money, they do the Sonic thing, they rework it so that it goes to the Snyder Cut the way Snyder wanted it. I still think it would be hot garbage because it is Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
And he has done a disservice to the DC movies, and the only thing he's done good is Watchmen and 300. I don't think he is suited for the DC movies, and I know there are people out there who love Zack Snyder, but I gotta tell you, I haven't met any of them in person yet. So whoever they are, they're fighting a very small fight, and they are very loud. Yeah. But I think it would be trash if Zack Snyder got it the way he wanted it.
No, I agree to probably a lesser extent, a less passionate extent.
Yes, I hate Zack Snyder. For those of you who don't know, Zack Snyder I don't get it. Action sequences, amazing. He is the Michael Bay of comic books. That is a great comparison. You know it.
Okay.
Of comic book movies. He is the Michael Bay of it.
Okay.
His action set pieces are great. Story and dialogue, awful.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that's probably why they picked Joss Whedon to come in and fix Justice League, because he's pretty well known for his dialogue and his interaction between characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tried to fix it.
Yeah.
Joss Whedon had a tall task ahead of him.
I think he did the best he could.
That's like trying to go poop in a stall after someone blew it up. It's tough.
It is.
It's tough to do it in peace.
It's a little rough for everybody involved.
Yeah, exactly.
So, as we're kind of winding down for the episode here, I want to ask you a question, Chris.
What's up?
What are you watching?
Okay, so we're watching Mandalorian, obviously. And then because I have Disney Plus now, I think after we recorded the podcast last week, I started watching Treasure Planet. And I got all the goosebumps just hit me of like nostalgia. I'm like, oh my gosh, Treasure Planet, Disney Plus, I love this. So, but along with that, I watched A New Hope after watching The Mandalorian. That was great. And then I started watching the Clone Wars. And I think I accidentally clicked on the Clone Wars animated series movie.
Oh, yeah.
I need to click on the season 1 episode. So I'm going to start watching that. I love Star Wars so much. I've played video games. I've never watched Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars The Clone Wars. So I'm going to go through that, give my thoughts. It's a lot of Star Wars right now, but the hype train is real, and we're not going to stop until we get to Rise of Skywalker.
Oh my gosh.
And I also am playing Jedi Fallen Order. So far, so good. I'm playing on Jedi Knight, which is a difficulty. I think we're going to switch it to story because I care more about the story, and then I'll try and do it on harder difficulty because, I'm a filthy casual. But after that, I'll probably play some Pokemon Sword and Shield and see how that goes on the Switch.
Nice.
But, John, what are you watching?
So...
Oh, wait. Cut you off real quick. I'm so sorry. After this, I'm also going to go see Jojo Rabbit. This is your Jojo Rabbit alert, everyone. They are finally showing it in one theater in Chattanooga. That is so sad. This is my only day I could literally watch it. And they only showed it 3 times. 3 times during the day at this one theater.
This has been going on since the first episode of this podcast.
I am devastated how much effort I have to spend into seeing one movie that is having crazy reviews.
Oh my gosh.
It is putting off my desire to see Ford versus Ferrari because now I'm hellbent on seeing Jojo Rabbit. which Ford and Ferrari is supposed to be really good. So that will be hopefully another week.
You're going to have to come back in and tell everybody how it went.
Yes. All right. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Go ahead, John. The floor is yours.
So recently, as in last night, my wife introduced me to this show called Billy on the Street. And let me just tell you, so it's Billy Eichner basically just being himself. It is probably one of the funniest things that I've ever seen. It's not very often that we like the whole little like huffing and puffing when you're watching something and like you snort out your nose, and that's the most kind of laughter that you really get from something if you're watching it by yourself. But let me tell you, we both have not open mouth like laughed out loud as much as we have watching this show. It's so good. Just him running up to random New Yorkers, interacting with them, being himself, putting people in super awkward situations, and just being the most Billy that I've ever seen. It's so funny. Definitely highly recommend it. And love Billy Eichner. He needs to be in more things. So good.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Comedy, getting down with the comedy.
Always.
Yeah. It's kind of like how I was laughing to John Oliver with his American segments. His stand-up's really good.
Also so good.
Yeah. But that'll do it for today. You got any more thoughts?
And I think we're pretty much covered it. Stay tuned for our Mandalorian review, episode 2. Coming at you here pretty soon.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to do another Mandalorian episode. And we're going to go, just a heads up to everyone, for the review, we'll probably go full spoilers for most of it. Just to keep it a little bit shorter and concise. And then we also might have some additional content coming out next week. Stay tuned for that as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the 7 Up Podcast. We will see you next time.
Bye.